According to reports, millions of British holidaymakers are being pressured into handing over thousands of pounds for trips that will probably never go ahead.
Well, that's despite Health Secretary Matt Hancock's warning that summer holidays are likely to be cancelled this year, something that he revealed during our interview on Tuesday. Do we now all have to come to the conclusion that summer is essentially cancelled, holidays cancelled? It'll be unlike any summer that we've had probably since the Second World War?
I think that's likely to be the case. Yeah, we haven't made a final decision on that yet. Social distancing of some kind is going to continue. And I think, the conclusion from that is that it is unlikely that big, lavish international holidays are going to be possible for this summer. I just think that's a reality of life.
Well, it's a topic thousands of you have been affected by. We've had so many emails on this already.
We'll be speaking to a few viewers shortly, but first, let's go to our travel expert, Simon Calder, to get his thoughts. Were you surprised that he came out with that on the telly?
My jaw just dropped, I think, along with several 100,000 other jaws from the many people who work in the travel industry in the UK who are doing all they can to try to get plenty of us away on holiday. But crucially, nobody can travel anywhere at the moment because the Foreign Office travel advice says basically, unless it's essential, do not go abroad at all. That applies indefinitely. I've just been in touch with the Foreign Office and said, are you going to say anything different ever? And they said our consular advice is under constant review. So no change there. And it sounded actually and I've gone back over that clip many times with Matt Hancock, as though they're actively discussing in government, well, should we keep it there all summer? Say we'll ban all travel abroad until, say, the end of August, which actually would give at least some certainty, although it would destroy many thousands more jobs in the travel industry.
But are there still flights leaving Heathrow?
Oh, yes, there's about 45 a day, generally about 20 long-haul flights, mostly to North America, 20 European flights and about half a dozen domestic flights.
If there is a travel ban, who's on the planes?
Right, it's people who are returning to their home countries. I mean, because the UK hasn't had any quarantine restrictions, it's actually Heathrow is a very popular place for people to get back to their loved ones, because you can, if there's flights coming in from say somewhere in Africa, Addis Ababa perhaps, then people from America can get the flight in and then fly off to Boston or Washington or New York.
If I go to Heathrow with my passport and
yes,
can I get on one of those planes?
Yep. You certainly can. You can just say, I would like to go to New York. Now, the trouble is, they're not going to let you on that plane, with the greatest respect, Phillip, not because it's you, but because you will not be admitted when you get to America. And that's going to be a huge problem. And in fact, Spain starts 14 days of mandatory quarantine for overseas travellers tomorrow. There's all these restrictions in place all over the place. And at the moment, nobody can travel anywhere for fun, which is quite annoying for many of us.
But very much needed. I guess the problem is this month. A lot of people have already put down deposits on holidays for this summer, and this month is when they have to pay the remaining amount left on it. Should they continue to pay these instalments? What do you do?
Well, it's a really, really tough time, because you're exactly right, Holly. What's happening now is that all the demands for paying the balances for trips going out in July and August are all coming in. And so people are being told, yeah, you've paid a few £100, you've got to pay us many more £100, maybe even thousands of pounds for the rest of your trips, and they don't know what to do. Now, assuming that you still want to go on holiday, and that's a big if, particularly for people who are in maybe some of the risk groups, then if you can possibly afford to pay the balance, then please do, because that way you will either get your holiday as you booked, which will be lovely, or you will get all your money back if it gets cancelled because of government advice, whatever that happens to be at the time. And so it's the best insurance policy. It sounds a little counterintuitive to carry on paying money so that you can get your money back, but I'm afraid that's the way the rules work. And if you just say, right, I'm not paying the rest, then first of all, you'll lose your deposit, and it could well be that actually the travel company might come after you for more money, particularly if you've taken advantage of a low deposit holiday scheme.
But what will you definitely get your money back? And what happens if you need the money now because of lack of wages, that you actually need the money that you would have been paying to the holiday?
Well, look, it's just an awful situation. My heart goes out for the many, many thousands of people who are thinking exactly that, their circumstances have changed completely since they booked that holiday. They did quite the right thing, booking a peak season July, August holiday well in advance. And now they're just finding that the whole thing is beyond them financially. Now, you keep paying if you possibly can, because that way, yes, you will either, if it's cancelled, get a full refund. Even if the holiday company very sadly were to collapse, you get that back from the atoll scheme, and hopefully you will get a holiday. Now, if you've booked a proper package holiday to a Mediterranean destination, then there's a good chance that you could actually transfer the trip to someone else, and that's worth considering as well. And I'm sorry to say that a lot of people who've been in contact with me haven't been advised that that is a possibility, but for a lot of people it will be a good solution.
Would the most sensible thing, if you are planning a holiday this year and you don't know what to do, think of a staycation, think about somewhere around the UK?
You can think about it, indeed. And if you wanted, say, to book for Centre Parks, they're taking reservations for their sites in England from the 12th of June. At the moment, you cannot go and stay anywhere. No, not even in a tent or a caravan. You have to stay overnight at your main dwelling. So nobody's going anywhere for anything that you could possibly describe as a holiday. Talking to people in the travel industry, they're expecting that to be lifted at least in England from perhaps early June. Lots of caravan sites, they're saying they're planning to start up in July. So you can sort of start dreaming about it. You can even start booking, but be warned that quite a lot of accommodation providers are entirely reasonably going to say, if you can't get here because of government restrictions, then we're not going to give you a full refund in cash. We will allow you to postpone your booking till later in the year or maybe 2021. So you can't be absolutely certain that you'll just get your cash back if you can't get there.
Well, let's talk to Rebecca. This is Rebecca Barnes, and we've picked Rebecca. She represents thousands of people who got in touch with us. Hi, Rebecca. And so yours is a very, very similar story to many, as I said, many thousands that we've actually heard. You've got your husband, Jason, you've got Ryan, who's 40, you've got William, who's 7, due to go on holiday to Turkey on the 19th of August to go for 2 weeks, put down an £800 deposit, and now you've been contacted. The rest of the holidays, £3,400. And when have you been asked to pay that?
Next week, on the 27th.
And TUI is a travel company. So how do you feel about that?
I'm quite anxious that they might make us go. We would like to just move it to next year. We don't necessarily want our money back. We'd just like to move it to next year, really.
Well,
Simon?
the problem is...
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Go on, Simon, if you want to answer that.
Yeah, look... Rebecca, you've done exactly the right thing, which is you had a great holiday last year. You thought, we'll do the same thing again, book in plenty of time because, of course, it's going to be in demand and you're in the school holidays. Now, the problem is for you that you don't know if it's going to go ahead. And crucially, I imagine you're also, like many people, thinking, what on earth is going on with these quarantine measures? The government has said that from the end of this month, anybody coming into the UK will have to go into mandatory 14 days of self-isolation unless they happen to have arrived from France. You'll be coming back from Turkey, so that's you sitting at home for 2 weeks. I've been desperately trying to get clarification on what it will all mean. But for people in your position who presumably their kids will need to get back to school, you'll need to get to work, it's a very, very difficult situation. All I can say is, if you did you mention 27th of May? You've got a bit of time to try to talk to TUI, biggest holiday company in Europe. Yesterday, they put all their holidays on sale. They said, we're going ahead. Well, that's great, but
you have tried, haven't you, Rebecca? You have tried to contact them and you haven't been able to get through.
Yeah, we got a message saying that they had all the calls they could take in one day, so we couldn't get through.
Well, we've heard from them. They say, we'd like to reassure Rebecca that our package holidays are atoll protected, so she can pay the balance with confidence, and should her family holiday be cancelled, she'll have the option to receive a refund credit plus an additional 20% as a booking incentive or a full cash refund. What do you think of that, Simon?
I'm afraid that doesn't really answer the question, does it, Rebecca? You are just saying, we'd love to take this holiday, we just cannot commit to it this year. And unfortunately, while that's a perfectly reasonable conversation to have with TUI or any other holiday company, because partly TUI has decided you can't get automatic cash refunds, people like me, to whom they owe lots of money for holidays that were cancelled, are trying to phone up to get our money back at the same time as you're phoning up, trying to get just an ordinary conversation going. Will you let me post Spain? I don't want my money back. I just want to have the same holiday, thank you, just in 2021. So I'm afraid all you can do is keep trying. The crucial thing is we will find out in the next, I hope, week or so what the quarantine will exactly mean. And I'm afraid already people are planning, OK, so we're going to be on holiday in Spain. Let's see how we can get back via France. It is a lot of people in the travel industry are absolutely astonished that this policy is coming in, not because the government's made an argument for it to avoid a second wave brought in by other people, but because the country in the world which gets the most tourists, which is France, isn't included. And there's clearly plenty of loopholes that, knowing how travellers behave, people will be exploiting.
All right,
Simon.
thank you,
Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Hope that gets resolved for you.